Okay, welcome in to the Blood Prison Shakedown. My name is Vic Amesquita, owner of Blood Prison here at the Ohio State Reformatory. New podcast. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get this thing started off the right way. I feel we're talking about Halloween, haunted attraction, horror movies. I'm bringing in people from all over the industry to talk about their perspective on, haunting and what it's like to start a haunted attraction and get things moving. And I want to thank everybody for joining me. Thanks, Elena Ross. She's our person behind the scenes, making sure everything's happening. My first guest, a very close personal friend of mine I've known for many years, and I know most of you are going to know him as well, ladies and gentlemen. It's David Greathouse. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on your first show, man. I'm honored.
Well, we had to start it right, so I figured, who am I going to reach out to?
That's right. Absolutely.
So how you been doing, man? What's been going on?
It's been a crazy. It's been good this year. Last year, obviously, stunk for most of us, and
right.
It's nice that things are opening up and business is back in, and Halloween's back in business, and man, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm super excited. We were here at Blood Prison. We were, handcuffed, for lack of a better term, keeping it prison theme there, but we were really handcuffed because we didn't know what was going to happen. So we got to open like a lot of other people. But it was rough, all the precautions we had to take and all the extra things we had to do and everything. And then even doing the movies and everything, I remember you talking about, we had to get home off this set and it was all in the middle of everything. And it was just crazy for everybody, you know?
Yeah.
Glad it's on the downtrend, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. People are so happy to get back to their normal lives and do fun stuff.
Normal lives, for us.
Right.
Way different than normal lives for
Very true. Yes.
a regular person,
it's like people say, oh, I can't wait for Halloween. And for us, we kind of live Halloween all year long.
That's what it is. I do, yeah.
So never ends.
24/7, man.
Yeah, that's right. It's Halloween all year long.
Yeah.
For us.
I mean, it's, some more than others, though. I mean, like for you, I kind of rolled into it, but like, in your early days, I remember, talking back in the early days of the shop with you because I was just fascinated, about you touring with Mushroom Head and doing like that kind of makeup and then, talking to you more. It's like, when did you what was your first real influence for Halloween? I remember you telling me teen years, doing one in your garage and that's how it rolled. Yeah.
Well, it started earlier. The horror influence was, 3-4 years old. There was no pivotal moment for me in horror. As a toddler, I was, and of course my parents and grandparents reaffirmed this through stories throughout my life. I was 3 years old, first words, I want a skeleton, or I love the Wolf Man, or, just childhood fascination towards the monsters,
Right.
That's really where it began for me. So I don't know what triggered that. I was literally born loving scary faces, the Halloween, the haunted house, the Halloween stuff, obviously we went trick-or-treating as a kid, and that was great fun. But the first haunted house that really kind of grabbed me was in first grade. Mm-hmm. There was a boys' club haunted house in the Slavic Village neighborhood off of Broadway, and the boys' club were putting on a haunted house, and they put a poster up in our grade school, and I just started school. It was, first grade, September, October.
Right.
And I remember going back to class and drawing my own haunted house advertisement, and all the kids were gathered around me to watch me draw, So that was my first advertisement for my haunted house at 6 years old. We went to the Boys Club haunted house with my mom, and it was just I would just remember being really interested in seeing all the monsters there. Oh man, they're going to have Frankenstein there, and the Wolfman's going to be there, and so it was really exciting to me. But as cool as that was, what really grabbed me was the same year. It might have been the same night. We're talking 1976 here, so my mind's a little cloudy. But there was a neighborhood kid, a bunch of teenagers down the street that had this old vacant back house that it's 5 doors down. And they put on a haunted house for the neighborhood.
Wow.
One day, And I did not get to visit that that particular was like a one night only, and we were going somewhere else. But I remember seeing like this little homemade sign in the front of the yard with a green light on it, haunted house, like, and that alone like spun my imagination. Just imagining what's in there, not seeing it, but imagining it. So that was like the first idea of like, oh, you can do your own haunted house. And, and bugging my mom, she was the one that said, well, we'll do one. We'll do a haunted house here. So it was her idea.
Yeah, that's great.
And I just ran with it. Now, it started in the basement. And at first, it was just for fun, just the kids, just like we'd hang up some sheets. And started collecting masks at probably the age of 6 or 7.
That's great. Yeah.
I was fortunate. My aunt owns Starship Earth in Cleveland, Ohio, a leading costume, mask, makeup, theatrical store. Mm-hmm. And then, it was a neighborhood store. So going in there, they would always gift me, or I was able to, parents would save some money, and I'd get a rubber mask, and then next year I'd have 2 and then 3 and then a black light and a strobe light for Christmas. And so like I was accumulating year after year my haunted house kit, like, well, I got the lights, I got the mask, I got the makeup. And we started doing it for fun in my basement. And then about the age of, I was 12 years old. And I'd been doing this just every year just for fun. But 12, I started advertising it and started charging admission. So it was 50 cents to go through the basement haunted house. My mom collected the money.
50 cents.
50 cents. All the neighborhood kids, like 6 to 8 to 10 of them would all gather. And I designed and directed this haunted house in my basement. And it became quite famous in the neighborhood. Like, I was making, 50, 60, 70 bucks, as a child, 10, 11-year-old kid.
Hell yeah.
So we'd advertise it. I'd make flyers and would go, dress up in costume, walk the streets, putting them on telephone poles and putting them in 7-Elevens. And, it became up until I was 14 years old. That's what I did. Was the Blood Dungeon.
The Blood
Not
Dungeon.
to be confused with Blood Prison. But
that's where I got it. You inspired me.
It was the Blood Dungeon. And that was it, man. We had a great time doing that. And kids still talk about it today.
I'm sure. And that's the the authenticity that we can't get anymore. I was talking with a guy outside this was just last season actually, and we have a guy out front. And he's a slider, and there was this group of people, and they didn't see him coming. And I'm standing there talking to this guy, and he runs up and he slides behind these people, and they just separated like the red. It scared the hell out of him. And I was like, like we were laughing, And the guy was like, "Man, don't you wish that you still had that feeling going up to a haunted house, that you were like that scared?"
Oh yeah.
Because back then, now granted, I wasn't. I mean, the first haunted thing I went to, I was probably like 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. I was legit scared. Like I thought I was going to die.
Sure.
A guy jumped out of a tree with a chainsaw, started chasing us.
Yeah.
And we just like, so it was like that, it's hard because when they come to for ours, for instance, they see the building and they get that's kind of weird. But everybody knows now that it's, that it's actors and then there's, special effects and lighting and audio and all that good stuff. But back then, it seemed more, with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and, those kind of movies where it just seemed so real.
Yeah.
That it was just, burlap masks and,
Yeah, the haunted houses, it was like, okay, I understand now that these are just people, as my mom would say.
Yeah.
Well, that's scary even more. These are some crazy people.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
Take
it from you.
That's still today. Like, okay, they're wearing a mask, but who is under that mask? He's a real psychopath,
Yeah. And then there's always those, I remember the old, or rather, I remember hearing this first when I was a teenager. The haunted attraction or haunted house, if you make it through, you get all your money back.
Classic story.
I'm like, everybody asks me that, and I'm just like, I've never actually been to a haunt where they're like, if you make it through, you get you, because it's like, how do you do that, you know?
Yeah, man, that legend's been going on as long as I can remember. And I'm talking, and it was even then, there were holes in the ground that you would fall through.
Trap
and there
doors.
was trap doors, and you're crawling through a tunnel, and then they let live rats out, and like all of these great urban stories. And then I remember before meeting other people from other cities and states at haunted houses. I remember went out to Los Angeles one time, and I met these kids from Chicago that were doing haunted houses. And they told me that there's this haunted house in Chicago that if you make it through, you'll get your money back. And there's trapdoors and all the same stories. So it's like a universal urban legend.
Everywhere. It's not just around here. Yeah.
It's great.
So then I never got to do this, and I wish I would have been able to do this. I remember when you took them up I think it was a few different times, but I was always either out of town or something was going on. So you then tell me about the transition into like the Legion of Terror, Bloodview, because you're kind of, legendary up there as well. How did that happen? How'd that come to be?
Well, I was doing my own, up until I was 14, I was doing my blood dungeon, and I knew I kind of outgrew it. Like there was no more, I kind of maxed out what we can do with the basement. And I knew I would love to go to a professional haunted house. And there was a witchcraft store in the neighborhood that just opened. And of course I visited it, and I became friends with the owners, and they said, hey, we're, besides helping them at their store, they were selling masks and makeup, and hey, we're supplying the makeup for Bloodview Haunted House. And I had already been to Bloodview. I was a fan. Thought it was one of the best haunted houses that I'd seen in my travels of visiting other haunted houses. And I was immediately like, hey, we'll give you the phone number of one of the characters. And so, this was, I was 15. This was 85, and called up a gentleman and said, hey, we're doing construction at Bloodview, and this is like late August, early September. Come on up. Immediately, like my mom dropped me off, and they it's like, hey, here's a paint can, here's a hammer and some nails, and do that. Here's a laundry list of things. And I was in heaven immediately. And this haunt had not opened yet. I was not officially inducted or anything. Just helping out, like paint the walls and nail up some drywall. And I loved it. And it was like, this was my new home. It was the best thing I'd ever done. And then, of course, like a month later, it was time to, Legion of Terror was just forming. They had spun from an old group called the Knights of Frights, and they were regrouping as the Legion, and became a member immediately. And I came in, here's all my pictures of all my makeups, and so I came in like ready to go. I was like Mr. Professional at that time. Like, I'm ready to do this. And I'd already been doing makeup for years, going up all the neighborhood kids. So there it was. I was on the ground floor of the Legion of Terror, in their developing year. And every night, and got all the awards. And a year later, I was in charge of the sets and the props. I was 16 years old, and it's an election officially. Everyone gets voted on. Whoever gets the most votes gets the job. Yeah. And I got the job as Lord of Sets and Props. Wow. And at 16, I started developing, the rooms and decorating. And, And, just a year and a half ago, I was just starting off. So I just took to it immediately, I really did. And it was it was like a destiny. I knew I was going to excel at it. I knew that was in my blood and all that stuff. So there was no like growing pains in it. Like I just took to it. Yeah.
And then you ended up doing you did a documentary on it, yeah?
Yeah, years. Yeah. I mean, obviously that was, years of, the documentary, man, we're jumping ahead in time, but I did years of the Legion and in Bloodview, and then I moved to Los Angeles, pursue a career in special makeup effects at 21. And then at the age of 25, I was working on set in Czech Republic and Slovakia. And we're flying back to America. I was on working with Andrew Devoff of Wishmaster fame, and he was on a film called Nemesis 4. Met him, and so on the way back, they said, "Hey, we've got a layover. If you want to do a layover, we'll hook you up with a layover if you want to stop anywhere before you get to California." And I said, "Oh, it's Halloween time. We ended this movie. It's like the 27th of October." And I'm like, "Boy, it'd be great to stop back at Bloodview for a visit. I hadn't been there in years, and just surprise everybody to show up and spend the weekend there." So I did. I just dropped in, and that year was the year where I just like I had seen like a new group of people, and I was blown away. I was like, wow, these guys, this is like the best haunted house that I've been to. Like these performers are outrageous. Like it was like a whole new cast of characters, plus my old school friends and family. And I just, I was already in the movie. I was looking for a movie to do, and it just hit me, man. Like, hey, man, let's do a documentary. Like, come back to Cleveland and film a documentary, just you and a camera, and interview your friends and behind the scenes. And that's where the documentary started, was just visiting and being really overwhelmed by how cool it was.
It was cool.
And
I got a copy.
Well, then the movie, obviously the movie is still like, I finished draft 1 in 99, draft 2 in 09.
That's probably the one I have.
Yeah. You got the DVD, and then I'm now looking at dusting off draft 3. Hopefully the finished draft. I want to revisit it. Yeah, it's the same movie, but there were things on the second draft that need updated, or it bugs me, or I just want to make it available for streaming and other departments in that field. So I want to dust that off again in the future.
I remember you telling me about the because I've got and that's the great thing about having you on, is I've got so many great house stories that I've heard over the years, from touring to movies to Halloween. You did I don't know, was it a few dates or whatever? You did this Ozfest haunted attraction thing.
Yeah. That was in 2003. Now I went on the road with Mushroom Head, which was a blast.
Of course.
And we did Ozfest in 2002, which was a blast.
Right.
Like one of the greatest times of my life that summer. And just being there, and it just had this like carnival-esque feeling to it, Ozfest did. And I'm like, boy, it'd be cool if there was a little haunted house that you can, go through on the Midway. And that's where it started. Like, okay, that idea. And then like I had this kind of idea of like, wow, well, let's just take a truck and turn it into a mobile haunted house that unfolds tent style, and decorated on the inside. And we put a vortex tunnel in the truck, and few of my friends from the Legion. So the following year, I contacted Ozfest, and it's like, hey, what about a haunted house? And they said, sure. Can you provide one? I'm like, yeah. And I at that time, no.
Yeah.
When I went back to the Bloodview people, and I pitched it as a second attraction to Bloodview when it was all done. I just wanted to take it on Ozfest, and they basically could have it afterwards. So
it worked out for everybody.
It worked out for everybody, and sort of. It was a rough road, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I can spend an hour talking about nightmare stories on that tour.
Yeah.
But we did about, I think about 10 shows or something like that on Ozfest. We wanted to do the whole tour. Oh, man, the truck would break down. We'd get in, and like we didn't have our permit for a certain city, or truck would break down again. And then, we can't go out to the West Coast because there's so many dates. So we just focused on, like, we did Texas, and we did Massachusetts and Michigan's and Ohio's. Right. But we got a taste of it. We didn't do the whole tour.
Right.
But we got enough to get our asses kicked and said, we've had enough of this.
Yeah. 10 dates, I'm sure. Yeah.
It was a wild. I mean, you're driving all night, and then, the setup of it was physically demanding,
right?
Because it wasn't like you push a button, on an RV and the whole thing,
and it just,
expands out.
There you go.
It's like a lot of muscle work, and we really worked the crew. And then after setting up for starting at 5 a.m. to set up, you're open at 9, like doors are open, meaning you're open for business at 9 in the morning.
That's crazy.
When the fans come in, and then until we were near the second stage, and then we wrapped up at about 4:30 when the second stage closed.
That's not bad.
Yeah. We had a couple times where we did main stage where we were open all day. Okay.
Which was a long day.
Oh, it was a long day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, you're just like sweating. We just had our shirts off, and we were just covered in white grease paint and blood. Like that was the extent of our makeup.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing else you could do.
Right.
You would just like drench sweat.
So did you act in that haunt as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm the barker, the greeter, come on in. And I think there was like 5 of us, 4 to 5 of us on the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hardcore crew though.
Yeah, but it takes someone hardcore to do all that, because that's just
oh man, it
nuts.
It whipped our butts.
See, it's hard enough on us. We're doing, being here at the reformatory's got its, obvious pros. Like, for instance, incarceration is going to be here this year in September. So we get to run for that, which we've done before. So and this year it's the lineup is great because it's a crowd that, will come and see, a haunted attraction, just like Ozfest, because, we're all fans of the music. We're all fans of the entertainment and everything. So it works out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Slipknot, Rob Zombie. Yeah, they're kind of haunted house type bands, and they fit perfectly.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be fun.
Yeah,
and again, after last year, I think everybody's ready.
Oh man,
everybody's
for live
ready
shows, for entertainment. Oh yeah,
I just heard recently California opened up, so that's kind of like they're like the only ones, I believe, clinging. I'm not 100%. I'm not from there, but so that's actually kind of inspiring. Be like, all right, maybe we're done with this. You know what I mean?
I hope so.
So yeah, but that's good stuff. And then when you're talking about the makeup, doing all the makeup and stuff. So when you're doing a makeup, I mean, what's the difference really, in movie makeup and Halloween makeup? I'm assuming like it all transitioned for you.
The haunt stuff, and people ask, how do I get started in doing makeup? And I always say, work at a haunted house. You have the opportunity to do as many makeups as you want, and it's a great practice spot, and that's where I really learned. Haunted houses are a great way to learn makeup. Now, getting into the movies, how is it different? Well, yes, it is very different. Sometimes you're working with the same materials. Haunted house, like errors are fine. There's not a huge amount of pressure, on haunted house makeup people. Right. The movie business, there's a huge amount of pressure.
Sure. A little more meticulous.
Haunted house actors love wearing makeup. Yeah. Gore me up. Get it in my eyeball. Like, I want latex. I want blood running out of my ears. Yeah. And you get to Hollywood movies, like, these are real actors, and you got to be very delicate around them, with them. Contamination, how you touch them, delicate fingers, nice, be gentle. And it's got to stay on their face. Halloween haunted house people, you see their latex is half off half the times. It's ripped around their mouths and all that. Like, you can't do that in the movie stuff. No, so you gotta step up your game as you do in the movies. Absolutely. But it is great. Like, gives you that frontline assembly, front lines. Here we are in the thick of battle. It just gets you familiar with touching and next person. And so it's a great training ground for any makeup artist. Yeah. And
then how far it's come. I mean, I like some of the digital stuff. It's not, it's cool, but like, I just still love that old practical, that affects, the appliances and everything. Yeah. Where did, most of the people I talk to, they see, the old 70s Kiss guys in their makeup, and that's, they love that. But like, what in the movies, where did you say, dude, I want to do that. I want to make somebody look like that. Like an early influence for you.
The early monsters, once again. Yeah. Frankenstein, Wolfman, The Mummy, Lon Chaney.
I was going to say,
those guys really what started, it's kind of like the last of my generation of the old 30s films that would show on Big Chuck and Superhost and the Ghoul. So we were given, growing up in Cleveland, you had 3 different horror hosts at various times. So, before VHS and before cable television, you had to focus on what was going to be playing on Friday night. Like, that was your goal. Like, Friday night is this, Saturday morning is this, for Superhost so that was it. So Famous Monsters magazine, the early classics, man. I wanted to do those guys. And then the late 70s, early 80s, the slasher boom hit. Right. And then, the Friday the 13th, and all the gory film, Dawn of the Deads, really took me to the next level, because then I moved on from the black and whites and started binging on everything slasher, everything with gore, anything with a monster. And then that really became more of a profession, because back in the old days, Jack Pierce or the Westmores, that was it. But now, with the dawn of the new age of horror in the late 70s, now it became vogue that it's a legitimate industry. Los Angeles New York was hiring. There were teams and companies of people doing special effects. that were hiring young guys across America, were coming out to Los Angeles to work on these films. And, The Howling and American Werewolf, and I mean, those were big. The Thing and all the early 80s monsters, just like, I mean, the same story goes for pretty much every special effects guy. It's like the same story they're going to tell. Those films like made it a legitimate business. Like, okay, Fangoria magazine, there's like a new effects makeup artist every month. Like it became like, I can do that. And you looked at them and they were like young guys with long hair. I'm like, okay, that looks like me. I can fit into that, you know? So that gave all of us the confidence to say, and they were making one a week, there was a new film every week. So then that became a legitimate business.
Yeah.
Was the early 80s horror boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so, I mean, I was born in 75, so I was kind of into that. I remember as a kid, like, we would go to my buddy's house, well, it was his grandma's house really, but we would watch, a Friday the 13th movie or a Halloween movie, and then me and my other buddy, we would leave, we would get to this corner, his house was here, and my dad's house was here, and it was late, you know what I mean? And it was just like, okay, man, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, bye. And we'd run, back to our house because we thought, because we were just like 7, 8 years old. Why we were out that late, who knows? But, we were watching old horror movies, and it all kind of led into everything doing that. And that was kind of the fun thing about like even like the Friday the 13th classic, Halloween.
Yeah.
What do they look like underneath that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That
Absolutely.
they always want to know, Now it's just, it's almost like you can't make, which, kind of sucks that you can't make the same movie today that you could in 1980 or 1973.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Right.
even if you try, I think personally, like The Exorcist.
Right.
Like I still watch that movie and it's just like, damn, that's a great movie.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was shitting bricks when I first saw that movie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was freaky, man.
Yeah.
Linda Blair's head spinning around.
Yeah.
It was just like,
it still stands up.
it does. I think it does to this day.
Absolutely.
So who then, like, did you just kind of do it on your own? Like as far as makeup from haunted attractions to doing the movies, or did you have like someone who like kind of showed you the way, or did you just kind of do,
Well,
apprenticeship type of deal?
in the early days before leaving for the big time, I had my initial was myself was like the old wax and latex and stuff was pretty much me and what I learned. Maybe I read in a book, Dick Smith's book or Richard Corson's. But when it came time to sculpting and making molds and foam latex and things like that, that was sort of the next level. And the guys, Mike and Jackie Westfall, the owners of the witch shop, the Village Witch, and those stores. He was in his 30s, and he was interested in special makeup effects as well.
Right on.
And so was I, and we became buddies. And he had a job. He's a real guy. I'm like, hey, I'll purchase the Ultracal, the clay, the latex, the foam latex, alginate, and we'll start doing mask and prosthetics together. So he was the first guy that I did my face cast with molding, with sculpting, and I was off to the races. Like I would sculpt one, mold it, next one, sculpt one, mold it. I was like, yeah, I got it, and this is great. But there was like an old, some old magazines on how to make a mold, and we followed that because he was doing it for the first time himself. And then working with the Legion of Terror. A couple of those guys were doing sculpting and foam latex as well. So then, you talk to them and you're pretty much off to the races once you find out, the basic building ingredients. So those were my early mentors, was him and the Legion.
That's awesome.
And then work with various, people throughout the years in Cleveland. And then when I go out to Los Angeles, then you figure, wow, I don't know anything. Like these guys are like on a whole nother level completely.
Time to start learning again.
Yeah. And then your real apprenticeship starts taking over.
Yeah.
And, I owe a lot to the, guys like Dave Barton and Dan Rebert.
Yep.
And, Steve Johnson, my first boss. And, man, you start meeting friends and you just look at their work and you see how things are done properly. and you just get better at it, And then like a year later, you look at your stuff and your techniques and how far you've come. You look back like, wow, a year ago I was locking all my molds together, my sculptures look the same, and now all of a sudden like, ooh, wow, look at you. We're getting good at this. It's obviously by being around creative people that were outstanding. I mean, top names in the business. Like I stepped in the door on day one, and the list of names are like Oscar and Emmy winners, I mean, like guys that are still today like top of the business. And those were all guys that I walked in, and helped me out. And, I really can't, that is so invaluable. Like, it's just like, learning from them. So you stepped up your game. Everyone you got better. And,
that must have been, when did you go out to LA after you got done here?
It was January 92.
92?
Yeah.
So that was like, you're still in the day of,
It was the last year, couple of years of what was like considered the golden era. I mean, like the 80s were definitely the golden era, but what really started winding down was CGI. And, Terminator 2 had come out, and the writing was on the wall from Terminator 2, what the future was going to be.
Right.
Not just with Skynet and AI, but also with CGI taking over makeup effects, that was part of the end of us as well.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's kind of like we've carved out our own road where, hey, we're still alive. We're still doing practical makeup effects the old school way, and people still want to see that. I do.
Yeah.
And if I'm making a movie, I want as much practical makeup effects in camera.
Sure.
Not an animation later, So I'm still in, trying to keep that philosophy alive.
Yeah, and that's, all the great, haunted attractions around the world, not just America, because they're everywhere now. We're still holding that boat down too, because, you can't do CGI here, so we're still doing makeup, we're still doing appliances, which is kind of, it's kind of cool because, we watched that Netflix, what was it, Zombie Army? Yeah. And they had some pretty cool makeups in that movie. It looked, it looked pretty good. Of course, Walking Dead's still on, and that's we know people on there that are still doing makeup and everything. Can you imagine how many makeups you've done? Is there one that stands out to you? Is like, man, I had so much fun doing this one, or I'm really proud of this one, or is there one out there from a movie or a haunt that you worked at?
Man, there's so many, obviously. Yeah. There's so many. I did a makeup, I have, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of pictures of makeups. And, from personal stuff to, it's like I don't even take pictures of half the makeups anymore. Like, you just do them and like, oh, wow, that was
clockwork
for a movie. And I didn't even a photograph of it, like.
Right.
So there are so many. It's hard to say I have a favorite, to be honest with you. So I don't want to, I'm like, I got 10 running in my head right now.
Right. Almost like saying, what's your favorite movie? Yeah.
That's a little, I don't have a favorite movie either, but I could say 10 of my favorites. Right. Or 365 of them.
Yeah.
If you're following my Facebook. If you follow,
exactly. Yeah. I saw that. I remember thinking, and that's the cool thing about, when I first met you, it was more, we talked horror all the time. We worked at, Creature Core, with Robert Kurtzman. So we're talking horror almost every day, and that's mostly what we did. But just like looking at your list from the 365 influences, you had everything on there from horror to action to, tear jerkers. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it comes from everywhere, I think, is kind of like the idea that I got from you doing that.
Well, besides, obviously horror is a great love of mine, and, it's kind of like the dark stuff is what I gravitate towards, but I'm also just a movie fan, and and those aren't just movies that I like because there's another, 3,000 movies that I like. I think I have 4,000 DVDs at home. All right, so just to give you an idea. Yeah. Yes, there are plenty of movies that I like, but those movies were the ones that kind of shaped me and what I wanted to be as a human, as an artist, as a filmmaker, and just things that really kind of stick to my core and belief system or really changed my life, whether there be a B movie or Shawshank Redemption,
So traveling down the timeline from, acting in a haunt, running a haunted attraction, traveling on a haunted attraction tour. I mean, you've done all this, then you jump into movies, and it all goes, it all goes kind of hand in hand, for someone who anybody that's fascinated with coming to haunted attractions or working in haunted attractions, they kind of get an idea of, what you've put in and what you can put in to kind of make something like that happen. I mean, what would you give, somebody that's just trying to get into it like you did back in the day? I mean, how different is it? I guess is what I'm asking for from then to now, and maybe any kind of advice you can give somebody.
You know what? When I was coming up, like to find another special makeup effects artist.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got to get to know this person.
Yeah.
Can I visit you? Can I pick your brain? Can we share information?
Right.
That was like 1, 2, 3, 4 people that you found over a course of years. I could probably have 1,000 friends. They're all makeup artists on Facebook.
Yeah.
Whether they're haunted makeup artists, pro makeup artists.
Right.
They're makeup artists.
Yeah.
They do it and they love it. I know 1,000 people.
Yeah.
So 100 at least.
Easy.
I mean, here alone.
Easy.
I mean, so everyone does it now.
Yeah.
All right. It's cool. But, the game has changed also, I mean, my advice is, well, first off, start off at the haunted houses, take pictures of your work. That's the key. Build up a portfolio. So whether it be an online portfolio or an old-fashioned, book. What
are those?
Yeah, right. Pictures, pages.
Screen.
And just, and constantly refine your work. The haunted house thing, you have a tendency to kind of also get stuck with the haunted. Like, okay, just cover it with some blood. It's kind of like the easy fix. Or, it's a haunted house. It doesn't matter,
Right.
Oh, it's dark. No one will see it.
Right.
Well, you kind of have to go past that. And you kind of have to start refining your work. Today is a lot different because the world of makeup is... Before you had a straight makeup artist, then you had the special effects makeup artist.
Right.
Now they're the same.
Yeah.
You got to do both. So if you want to stay in the business today, if you want to be in the business or excel as you want to, try your shot. It doesn't have to be Hollywood, but like wherever they're filming a television series, Georgia's hot, New Mexico, Vancouver, name the spot. Ohio's not too bad either.
Yeah.
So, all right, I have to now do straight makeup, corrective makeup, beauty makeup, smoky eyes, eyeliner, eyelashes, a nice cheek, good lip.
Be versatile.
You have to be versatile. Oh, yeah. Well, I also have to do an extremely realistic looking wound, or I have to make tattoos, or now I have to do prosthetics, and now, the prosthetics now are so incredible. Like, human... there's still like human noses and jowls and old age makeups, and that stuff's still prevalent. So you really you got to step up your game now.
Right.
Like before, you can get away with being a little cheesy and still kind of get in.
Right.
Not anymore, I believe.
Yeah.
There's more, you have to do both. Before, you could do one or the other.
Right.
Now, the straight makeup person is also a special effects person, and vice versa. So yeah, that's...
Well, I tell everybody that asks me, and I'm not the guy to ask, I got into this business mostly on the marketing side, doing, radio and stuff like that. But just working with you and, everyone else that we were around once when we were working together, it just seemed to me like, because we have one person that is young and, coming up. It's just I tell her, it's like, look, I can't tell you technique, anything. You talk to, anybody else about that. But it seemed to me like, just go home and do something.
Yeah.
Don't do something if, I have to do this because we're opening the haunt, so I got to do this makeup.
Right.
Go home and do a sculpt. And
that's a good point.
You know what I mean?
That's a great point. You know what? Here's another thing with the makeup business and kids today or adults today who's doing it. Like, they think it's like an easy way out almost. Like, I don't have to go to college because I'm going to be a makeup artist or something. Like, I've done these great haunted house makeups.
Yeah.
Wonderful. You've done some makeups in the month of October. This is a serious, anyone can break in the business. But if you want to stay in the business and succeed, you should be doing makeup all the time.
Right.
You know, I mean, if you're studying to be, whether you're liken it to an athlete, you know, a professional person, a doctor or a lawyer, you know, how many hours do they study to become masters of their field? How many tens of thousands of hours are they putting in? So if you're not able to put in your life's work, instead of going out Friday night, you're home creating something new, or whatever that is,
right?
Then you're just a weekend warrior,
right?
Which is fine.
Sure. That's what you want to do.
Hey, that's what, but if you think, oh, I have what it takes to be on whatever show you want,
right?
Man, you better step up for real. And you better work your ass off, because it's a really competitive business.
Sure.
And there's a million people out there that the schools, like there was no schools when I was coming up. There's a half a dozen that I can name right now.
Sure.
And there's new students every semester, and they're pumping them out. And then they're like, okay, let's go. And wow, the industry's crowded, or I did one show and I couldn't get another gig again, you know? Mm-hmm. So there's an element of like, oh, I can be lazy and do makeup. No, you can't.
No,
all right?
Doesn't work that way.
You know, you can pick up a guitar and strum and play the local rock club, or are you going to make it to the arenas? You know, it's like that's it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
There you go.
And the same goes for the makeup business or anything in entertainment. You know, it's like, it's all fun and fancy, and it's not, it ain't real work. Well, okay.
Yeah,
fine.
Try and do it then. Yeah,
it's long hours, and there's a lot of challenges involved.
And that's it drives me crazy, because I think, like you said, with anything, that's what it takes. Even from it's like I tell my daughter, she's doing guitar now, and it's just like, you'll get there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You got to crawl before you walk, but as long as you keep crawling. You should eventually
practice every day, and the top great guitar players who I'm a fan of. I'm like, oh, I was rehearsed 8 hours a day, or like you hear those stories. Randy Rhoads and Dimebag. Oh, I spent nothing. I just locked myself in all summer. No one saw me all summer because I was doing nothing but play guitar.
Yeah,
exactly.
And
right,
that's what happened. Yeah.
That's right. So you got to put in the hard work, man. Even if you're naturally gifted or have a natural art talent, which a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Well, you still got to put in tough business, man.
Yeah, for sure. Any of it, any entertainment.
Yeah.
Even now, just in running Blood Prison, it's just like it's cutthroat here. You go to we go to Trans World almost every year. And check that out, and it's just like it's just getting.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
There's so much great stuff,
movie quality.
everything.
Everything's.
Yeah.
I mean, Ghost Ride. We got this from Ghost Ride.
Yeah.
I pulled this out of the haunt just to kind of show off here, but it's like you check them out, and of course us at Creature Core, we kind of hang out over there, and all those guys. It's the game is risen.
It is. It's just outstanding stuff, and including this year at Trans World, and it's just wow. Man, the great work. I'm like,
good stuff.
Like I couldn't have done that, that's kind of beyond me even, or other people are saying the same thing about us, or, so the stake is high.
So you mentioned a little bit ago, what if you're on a show and, anybody knows, that you did season 4 of Face Off.
Yes.
And, I've had people ask me, because I know you, what was it like for House? I'm like, I don't know. You got to ask him about it. So let's find out, because on the show, when you watch it at home, which we did, because you were on it, and we were just like, all right, let's see what this is about, and it looked crazy. It looked like chaos in a can. Is that what it was like?
Yeah, I mean, yes. As an individual, not as the show producer, it's
no,
like,
of course not.
It's all cool and collective, and running on as clockwork. But as an artist, yes. And I went into Face Off thinking I was going to win it, knowing I was going to win it. Like, I got this one. Like, have you seen my credits? Do you know how many makeups I've done?
Yeah.
Like arrogant attitude. And the cast that I was on with was amazing. Season 4 guys are just like outstanding artists. And all the seasons, and I watched all the seasons.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh my God, and they're great. Oh my God, look at, So I wasn't like, I could do better than that, Mm-hmm. Well, I was initially saying, well, I knew I could hang with the great people to face off. And I really didn't even hang with them ultimately. Man, oh man, yeah, it was really tough. And you know, you gotta be a fast sculptor, number one. You know, like when you lay it down, it's gotta be right the first time. Yeah. And me, I like nursing a sculpture. I'll like, you know, leave it alone for a day or bring it home or, you know, have to get drunk to work on it or you know, there's so many like personal trials and tribulations that I have to go through, including today to do a sculpture. Right. And I've done lots of sculptures, but I still struggle with it. These guys, like, they're not struggling, you know? And also it's like, you got to be in great shape. And I'm not just talking great physical shape, but great artistic shape. Like dialed in, you can sculpt a large concept down to size. Yeah. And then, okay, that's, you know, what about, you know, we're doing costuming as well. Like, oh, you know, it's got to have hands and a chest and there's a big spine popping out of its back and its toenails are crawling through. So like all that stuff is like another step to do. Right. And also it's like things have to take time to dry. You know, your mold has to cure and bake out before you can open it, you know? And then, hey, at 5 o'clock, guys, all the molds are gone. Like if you want your mold ran in foam latex, it's gonna be here cleaned out. All right. So try cleaning like molds with fresh water clay out of a hot, fresh mold. It sticks. You know, it sticks. And we don't, you know, it's not like power wash. You know, we're not like power washing it. We're digging it out with popsicle sticks and a little running water. Your knuckles are bleeding and you're scrubbing, trying to get it clean. Right. Because you have a deadline to, you know, get it out. And so it's very, very intense. And when we'd come back to our house, our butts were whipped, man. Yeah. We were covered in clay, covered in plaster, and we were just like exhausted. Right. So yeah, it was a very challenging show. But I was a huge fan of watching all of those episodes. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, coming from, I mean, just watching that show, you know, because I obviously had an idea of what you were going to be going through. You know, there was a few other seasons, so you kind of knew going in this is going to be rough or whatever. But in looking at it, it's like I always hated, you know, first of all, like I don't even like really watching a show like that because not a show that's got special effects, but I'm saying a show where there's somebody judging somebody else, especially when like, here's what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. We're going to run you through the ringer. Yeah. And we're going to expect perfection. And if it isn't, we're going to basically ream your ass for it. And that's just crazy. It's just like, you know, like watching them talk to whoever, you know, and it's just like, well, you really should have done this. I'm like, you know, you only gave them this much time. You know that. Right. You know, so that's the part where, you know, it just doesn't seem fair or right but I get it. It's supposed to be a challenge, but it's like you say, realistically, the mold's got to dry. You know, the sculpt's got to dry out. You got to, you know, there's all this time, right? You know, and it's just like, name any show that's like that. And you're just like, you know, they're like, well, this would have been better if you'd done it this way. Well, yeah, I had this much time. That had to have been just like fucking crazy.
It was, you know, and I'm a fan of that type of show. You know, I was watching, you know, Project Runways and the cooking shows, anything like kind of like has an artistic spin on it. And you have a certain amount of time. I was a sucker for that programming as well. Like, ooh, you know, are they going to make it? Or is, you know, the whole dress going to fall apart before they hit the runway? So I was a fan of that format, and I knew that it just was going to bother the hell out of me if I didn't throw my hat into the ring. Like if I didn't, even if today, like if we're talking about Face Off and I like the show is over with, and I would still be I'm haunted inside by not winning still today. Yeah. And it's not the winning, it's like what I did wrong. Like things still bother me. You know, not to a point where I need medication, but, you know, like, boy, I should have done better on that. I'm disappointed in myself. Yeah. You know, it still irks me a little bit. Like, you know, wish I go back in time and redo that Mummy. Yeah. Man, oh man, I'm still mad at myself. However, I knew that if I did not participate in this show, that I'd still be kind of salty. Like, man, I wish I'd have jumped on Face Off. Just the show off a little bit. Yeah. And the TV, the television fame that, you know, you get from it is real. Like, you know, everybody knows you. Then all of a sudden, you know, you're in households across the world. You know, people are still watching it.
Yeah.
You know, I still get messages, you know, hey, I'm watching you on Face Off. Like, wow, great.
There you go.
So it was fun.
And you were in the early years too, like season 4, right?
Yeah, they did this is season 3 and 4 back together. So I'd seen 1 and, you know, wanted to be on. And it kind of took me a while to kind of accept it. And then, you know, so many great friends were on it as well.
Right,
you know,
yeah.
And
you made new friends too. I remember at Transworld you talking to them.
Oh, yeah,
guy.
Wayne Anderson, who was on my season, who's like one of the best sculptors in the business, and great dude. Oh, I mean, there's so many. Yeah, we create. I mean, you're living together. You know, you're eating together. You're sharing rooms with these people, and then you know you go to the show and come back, and you know. So yeah, we made great friends. Absolutely, and I still love all those guys. Yeah, absolutely, I really do. And also, there's kind of like a family base of the whole season of Face. Like all the Face-Off type people have kind of like a bond with each other, you know?
Right, yeah. Which, you know, you'd expect.
Yeah.
So on, you know, being in front of camera like you were on Face-Off, okay, you were on a lot. I mean, in the house, on the floor, making the sculpts, doing the makeup, all that stuff, high pressure.
Yeah.
You also cut, you've done music videos for numerous videos you've done for bands, you've done videos for me, for The Haunt, for, you know, places you worked. So you're on the camera, you're behind the camera. What do you prefer? What do you like more? Directing, editing, acting?
I like it all. That's number one. I like doing it all.
Yeah.
All right. That's first off.
Sure.
It's more, you know, it's wonderful. Directing is obviously my future goal. Stick with that. Directing is very exciting. I mean, you use your brain in so many ways, and it's an incredible
lot
feeling.
going on.
You know, I've been trying to develop myself as a director, you know, as long as I've been, probably earlier than the makeup, you know, because directing is sort of like, you know, throwing a party or, you know, inviting a bunch of kids over to play, you know, in your sandbox, and this is the imagination that we're going to do, and you kind of set the stage, and it's a great feeling. It really is. And, but on the other hand, you know, I like mixing it up. You know, I still want to be scary in front of the camera. I love acting. You know, I love special effects.
You wear the big suits.
Wear the suits.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I love it all. You know, so I don't want to I never want to pigeonhole myself and say this is all I do. You know, because once I get that feeling of it, I want to do something different. Like, you know, even after directing something, like, boy, it'd be nice just to like take it easy and just perform for someone else, you know, or hey, we need a severed head by 5 o'clock. Can you deliver it? You know, or so all the other little things that come with the arts, I really enjoy.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I remember doing what was the werewolf movie we did that you wore the suits in?
Late Phases.
Yes. What was it like wearing that suit? I remember your legs, saying your legs had to be almost pointed just to walk around in that.
Well, yeah. I mean, there were several versions of like what we did, what we wore, and it's physical. First off, you have to be in great physical shape to wear those suits.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, once you put it on you, you immediately because it just like hugs you so tight. You know, it's squeezing everything in your body, and it's hot. Yeah. Very hot.
Sure, yeah.
And now, you know, perform. And I remember like rehearsing for those guys up in New York and like run on all fours. You're running on all 4 legs and you're like, you know, hey, draw it again. Can you, can you try it like this? You know, oh no, I'm good. Let me just sit here for a minute.
Yeah.
So you got to be in great physical shape to do the suit work. Yeah. Which I know I really enjoy, but I'm not. I'll absolutely do more suit work, certainly. But when you see the guys that really do it for a living, like they're like basketball players, you know, they got the physique of a basketball player, you know. And like, I'm not quite there yet, but it's great fun. I love any time to play a monster, whether it's in a creature suit or a human-based character. I love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Looks interesting for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, you did the. Was that the Meat Monster you did?
No, I rehearsed in the Meat Monster, but I wasn't in the movie, unfortunately. I wish I was, but I wasn't. Right. But yeah.
Oh no, you did the goalie dude.
I did Goalie Golem for Kevin Smith's Yoga Hosers, which was fabulous as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That thing was huge.
Yeah, it was on stilts, and I was like tethered by wire, and man, it was that was a heavy suit, and it just just rested. You felt it in your shoulders and your traps, and like oh man, it's killing me. And then, one day where I'm in that thing for like 12 hours or something, incredibly long day. And it's great fun.
I liked you in one of my favorite things. I mean, not necessarily your acting style or the movie itself, but like just your makeup in Clowntown.
Okay.
With you with that big grin.
Yeah.
Because I was looking through some things. I'm like, oh, the House have done that I don't know, but I knew that one obviously. And it had the trailer for that movie. And I mean, we watched it here.
Yeah.
We used to run it here at the Haunt,
right.
like in our queue line areas, we'd run Clowntown. Mm-hmm. And just seeing, man, you just have that. You've got just like the one picture of you on when you're doing the Halloween shows up in Cleveland, where you had the horns and that big teeth smile that you do.
Yeah.
It's perfect, man.
I've got a good face for makeup.
Yeah. You really do. It works out well.
I'm a scary dude.
Can't you tell? Yeah.
It is.
I'm scared right now.
I should be, man. I put the fear of it in you, man. It's like, my face is good for it, and I know how to work my face. And I have a large mouth, and then you add teeth, and just like, you show them that you mean business, in your eyeballs. And people watch out.
I always felt kind of uncomfortable, when I first started working with you guys, just watching somebody do a sculpt, because I can't sculpt. Mm-hmm. I don't do that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I give mad props to all you guys that do it, because just watching this brick of clay become what you guys are doing, is just fascinating. It's just how the hell do you do that?
I agree. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just amazing. And watching you do like the like when we first got here. And we were walking through the building, like looking at things and just like kind of seeing, like, I remember we were walking through and I'm like, who the hell is yelling? I'm like looking around and you're like in the back just screaming and like jumping out of cells. And we're like, what the hell's going on? It's House. And it was like, oh. And then you came to act, a couple times and like just seeing you run out of cells and do your thing. And, it's just like I would tell people, I'm like, this guy's been doing it forever. This is what you need to do, know? And people enjoy it, from the other actors to the guests,
right?
That come to the haunted attractions. You can tell, that you're into it, and that's just fun to watch, man.
It's not fake; it's real, know. And when we came here, and there's an overwhelming feeling, when you're walking into a cool haunted house or a set or whatever, and like, yes,
yeah.
Here I am. Let's get crazy.
Yeah.
Like let's make some noise, and that just comes naturally. You know, and so
that's great.
There's no time to be shy.
No.
So yeah.
You can do it in front of them. Do it. Yeah, just do it.
And it's just a good feeling. It's just like you have that adrenaline, and you get pumped up, and you're seeing it, and it's dark, and that just grabs me, man. And and I start. Starts, like you said, screaming or doing dialogue or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're not even aware, like, oh, I'm really like spooking the hell out of everybody or influencing whatever. But it's just like you're just enjoying being there.
I remember over at the shop when we were doing the Mad Effects Lab. Mm-hmm. I think it was probably the first season. I don't remember exactly which. And you were walking around and I'm not even a scare actor. I like, the extent of my acting in a haunt is like running one of the puppets. I'd run the werewolf puppet once in a while. You know what I mean? The big actor controlled stuff. I do that, but that would be it. But like, I remember watching you go over and like, somebody be just kind of looking at you, and you'd lean down and you said something to this kid walking up, and he just like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. And then you just kind of kept walking. And I saw you later. I was like, what did you say to that kid? And you were like, you didn't remember. You were like, I don't remember which one. And I was just like, I don't know, it was this kid out there. It's like, you didn't really like scare him. You just said something to him.
A customer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you said something like, you go, they're not going to be scared of me here. They're going to be scared of me for the next couple weeks.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to be scared. They're going to be scared to go to sleep.
That's right.
You know, and
Yeah.
I was just like,
Yeah.
all right,
Give them
buddy.
a gift that they're not going to forget.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you think about all those people that you scared over those years. And, and I just know from my own stories, you know, like, hey, you know, we still talked about, you know, when I was a kid, you know, hey, remember that monster, you know, got in our car or chased us around. And like, we don't forget that guy. You know? So, I wanted to give that little feeling to all the tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of customers that I've scared over the years. You know, I want them to remember me.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Well, and then with that, you know, because the movies have the same lasting effect, and you know, you've got this this new one coming up, African Witch,
Yeah, that's hopefully we'll see it this fall. I mean, not on a major. We're not releasing it yet, but showing it to at least, you know, festivals or limited audience. It still has to be distributed.
Right.
So like a whole, you know, gamut that goes along with releasing a film that's very complex. And I'm just finding out myself, you know, the roads, because I've never really distributed a film before. So we'll see where it goes, but I'm very proud of it, certainly. I got to write, produce, direct, edit, special effects.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm still, like, we're in the final sound mix stages right now, and I can't wait for the world to see it.
And, you know, just when you first told me about it, you know, just, you know, up until, you know, in the recent weeks when we were talking, it's awesome how, you know, you went to Africa.
Yeah, Zambia.
You know what I mean?
You did Zambia.
You didn't like you make something in front of a green screen. Like, you know, that's what I'm so kind of excited to see about it, because I'm like, you're making this African movie, African Witch. You made it in Africa. You went over there. You hired an African crew. You know, or Zambian crew. Yeah. You know, and made it real authentic as a, you know.
100%.
Yeah.
100% authentic.
That's amazing, man.
That's
is
amazing.
Like,
I'm amazed myself thinking about it. Like, how did we do that?
Yeah.
Why did we do that? Am I still alive? You know?
For sure.
I think I am.
You're here.
It's very heavy. It's very emotional and so many levels. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's probably my greatest project that, you know, that I've created, you know, certainly. And very proud of it. And I hopefully can spin on, you know, I want this to continue so I can write and direct more.
Well, and finding those things that you plan, but then you find those things like you were telling me about the band you're using down there. Yeah, there was like you got the Zambian band doing the music on the movie.
Yeah, old school band called Witch.
Yeah,
which is perfect because I made the movie African Witch, and the band is Witch. We intend to cause havoc.
Yeah,
and they were the hard rock band of the '70s. You know, they were ahead of their time, and I fell in love with their music. And then, man, oh man, it's like the soundtrack just worked out beautifully.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see it, man. I'm like just super stoked because I remember when you were prepping, like you were telling me about it, and I'm like, "You're really going to go to Africa?" And you're like, "Yeah, hell yeah, I'm going to Africa."
Wild.
You've been to India on movies.
Yeah,
let's go to Africa.
Spend some time in India. I'd love to go. Yeah, there's so many other stories to tell other than what your backyard, what your normal life story is. Yeah. So, you know, find out, you know, you're learning of different cultures, of different people, and, you know, the sky's the limit, you know. I mean, I mean, you can, you know, I just think of, you know, world cinema, and let's find out about them, and we can do spooky stories in other countries, and it's something about it. It's more rich. It's not you know, the suburban ghost house or the, you know, the American killer. You know, we've seen those and they're fine, but there's other cultures and countries that we need to see stories from. Just the sheer amount of work that goes into it, just here, let alone trying to assemble all that. Was it hard getting a Zambian crew together? You know, the crew wasn't, you know, I had good people working with me that were interested in the project, and the crew for the most part, you know, came together pretty quickly. The casting, I was very much more demanding on. Like, you know, casting is everything, I believe. I mean, casting your crew as well, but casting the actors. You know, they say is that 90% of making a good film is the casting. Right. Okay. So we did a lot of auditions, and hundreds of people auditioned. You know, and it was wonderful. Like, you know, like, is 5 people showing up? No, 100 people showed up. And you look at them and you're like, this person would possibly work for this character. Read the lines that we provided. Here's a script page.
Yeah.
We'd videotape it. Thank you. We'll call you. Next.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll call you. And you're just like making notes, like who you like. And so the casting process was intensive, and we cast it perfectly. That's the movie is the casting. And for my opinion, you got to have great camera work. You have the great story. All of those elements have to be in place to make a good movie. All of them. But you also it's magic in a bottle. You know, you're capturing magic, and different people would have brought a different vibe. So I'm really happy with the film, and I'm really happy with the casting of it. Yeah, the actors bring it to life. You're not. Great. You know, you're behind. You're relying on them. Yeah. You know, all you're saying is cut in action, do it again. Right. Or we got it. You know, you're trusting them. They're the faces on the screen, you know.
What was the Africa's a giant continent. What was Zambia? Was it the story? Was it a Zambian story? Or is it, a mythical thing from Zambia, or was it just...
No, it was, I had a friend from Zambia, which brought me to Zambia. Okay. So,
that makes sense.
That's why inspired me. A friend from Zambia, who's a makeup artist, was interested in me teaching makeup in Zambia. Yeah. I'm like, well, I want to make a movie. That's it. Just said it. Well, what's your movie about? I think it's about a young boy who lost his father, is now a ghost, and ghost lives with his strange grandma who may be a witch. I'm just saying, I just said the plot. Okay. I can, it's that felt right. And I wanted to tell a story about a young boy, because I could write in terms of a young boy living with his scary grandma, because I certainly have. And so in many ways, it's a personal story. It doesn't have to be Zambia. It doesn't have to be anywhere. It could have been India. It could have been Ohio. The difference is, we've seen the American witch a million times. We've seen the European witch a million times, and they're fabulous. But I felt like we haven't seen the African witch. Sure. In America, from American cinema standpoint. So I wanted to tell something that was kind of like a true story to me, and a love story in many ways, a sweet, emotional, touching drama, but also scary. So I just felt natural to me, the living, the grandma and the young grandson. I just related to so many aspects of that. So I wrote it. It took me a while. I'd write it over the course of a couple of years while I was working, and just dust it off and go back to it. And it took a while, and then we did the location scout and went out there just to see, first, hey, how are we gonna feel about it? So we went out for a location scout. We found our cast and crew, found our locations immediately.
That's great.
That's it. That's one. That's, they just all fell into place. Like, you know what? Shot a little test footage. We got a movie, guys. This is it. These people are perfect for this film. And came back a few months later and shot the film.
That's great, man. It was a good time, yeah?
Yeah, it was an intense time. It was a good time. It was good. It just pushes your body and brain into new limits, both in terms of your workload and how your brain is thinking. It keeps you sharp, and then when you review the footage and you're like, wow, this looks really good, and it's like, wow, we did it, congratulations. And then the editing was tough. COVID was tough, and now we're in the final stages of sound mixing it. Doing the 5.1 and whole sound mix and bringing it to life. Every detail has to be just combed over so many times, and it takes a lot of work to make a really good film. It takes a lot of work to make a bad film too. Right.
Well, hey,
they kind of start off. They're every movie idea is a good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah. Right. But is it working? Is that movie really working? Yeah. Who knows? Magic in a bottle, man.
There you go. Yeah, and it all, I mean, started from like you being just a kid that was into horror,
Yeah.
Born into it.
Yeah. Man. And, I always wanted to make a film. I tried to make them as a kid, Super 8, video,
right.
I never got far with it. Like, I shot a scene or something, or I wrote a 5-page script or something, or, we had meetings and rehearsed it, but we never really got off the ground. I wasn't like Steven Spielberg or something making epics at 12.
Right.
That never happened. And then even moving out to California, like immediately with the effects guys, all the effects guys were directors. Everybody wanted to make a movie.
Right.
So, we had that in common. And I started the documentary, at 26 and thought I was going to go right into making another one. No, that didn't happen, now all these years later, finally getting one off the ground. So hopefully I definitely want to do another one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a process, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the next one.
Well, I mean, I hope this works out. I can't wait to see the movie. I know you're going to do something with it, and I'm personally excited to see it because just like watching some of the stuff you guys did in the shop, has me interested, and seeing some of the images. I know you posted an image.
Yeah.
And that was good. I mean, like when I saw it, I'm like, that's it.
Right on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, man. I can't wait.
Cool. Me too.
Hell yeah.
Can't wait to show it.
Well, listen, man, I don't want to take much more of your time, but I appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely.
And we'd like to have you back on sometime. And good luck. And of course, Halloween season rolls around. You're more than welcome to come in, sling some makeup, get in character, and have some fun out in front of the Blood Prison.
I think I will.
That'd be awesome, man.
I think I'm itching for it.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Got it, Vic.